Good evening, and thank you for joining the Town Council meeting for July 12th, 2022. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231 PL 1975, specifying the time, date, location, login, or dial-in information, and to the extent known, the agenda by posting a copy of the notice on the municipal building, municipal court, and the two municipal library bulletin boards, municipal website, providing a copy to the official newspapers of the township, and by filing a copy in the office of the township clerk in accordance with the certification by the clerk, which will be entered in the minutes. The township continues to use a remote meeting format in an effort to mitigate the chance of exposure to COVID-19 as a part of the township's ongoing effort to slow the rate of transmission and avoid overwhelming our treatment centers. In order to make sure a clear record of the message can be made and that all parties are heard in an organized fashion, all members of the public will be muted during the meeting. If a member of the public wishes to speak during any public comment portion, please raise your hand. This can be done either through Zoom app or by pressing *9 on your phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive a prompt or request to unmute. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute. Upon being unmuted, you should begin to ask any and all questions you may have. You will have 3 minutes to speak, at the conclusion of which you will be muted again, and the council or administration will respond as necessary. Should you have any further comments or questions, the town council is always available by email and phone, and you can always call the mayor's office during normal operating hours. Each member of the public shall have one opportunity to speak during each public portion, as the technology does not allow us to know if there are multiple callers on an individual phone line or logged in user account. We ask that you, if you wish to speak, that you log in or dial in separately so that we can recognize you as a separate individual. Individuals may also submit written comments to the town clerk up to 48 hours prior to the meeting to be read by the township clerk during the public comment portion of the meeting. Said comments shall be limited to 3 minutes of reading. Thank you in advance for your patience as we continue to move the township forward during this health emergency. Mrs. Cedar, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Bullard, Councilwoman Cahill,
Here.
Councilman Khan, Councilman Rouse,
Here.
Councilman Shaw,
Here.
Councilman Aaron,
Here.
Council President Lombardi,
Here.
Mayor Brian Waller,
Present.
Business Administrator Timothy Dacey,
Here.
Township Attorney Rajveer Gumer.
Here.
And I'm here, Melissa Cedar, the Township Clerk.
Thank you, Mrs. Cedar. Would everyone please join me in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 5 are comments from administration and council. Do we have any comments from the administration regarding adjournment of any matters on the agenda this evening?
No comments, Council President.
Seeing none, we'll move to number 6, which is open to the public. And these are comments regarding the consent agenda items only. Please be advised, these are for the consent agenda items only. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you will have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you have completed any comments or questions. So if anyone wishes to speak during this open public portion, we are now open to the public for the questions only on the consent agenda. And please make sure you state your questions and then we will answer them after you're done stating them all.
Council President, there are no individuals with their hand raised at this time.
We've now closed the public portion. And we'll move to number 7, which is an ordinance second reading authorizing the acquisition of block 9903, lot 4.09, 16 Davison Road. This is open to the public. It's a resolution adopting ordinance. Mrs. Cedar, can you please read the ordinance?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Authorizing the Acquisition of Certain Property identified as block 9903, lot 4.09, 16 Davidson Road, or block 9903, lot 4.11, 12 Davidson Road, in the Township of Piscataway, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, for public purpose pursuant to NJSA 20:3-1 et sec, was introduced on the 28th day of June 2022, and it passed the first reading and was published on the first day of July 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on July 12th, 2022, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with a notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2022-16.
Thank you, Mrs. Cedar. This is a second reading. We'll now be opening this to the public regarding this ordinance only. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it's your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you will have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you have completed any comments or questions. We're now open to the public.
Council President, I'm asking the first individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves. Oh, 0570, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Go ahead, please.
David Akins, Post Valley Lane. Evening, council.
Good evening, David.
On item number E for golf. I know, how long will that service be?
Mr. Akins, we're open to the public regarding the ordinance that's second reading for the acquisition of block 9903. We're not open to the public on all the other items at this time.
Well, this was part of the consent agenda. I had pressed *9. It just happened to speak now. And I didn't press anything other than that first time. So anyway, I'm going to pass it right now.
Can we have you, can we get through this ordinance and then we will
Yes.
have you come back at the last public portion and we can answer that question for you, Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can continue.
We're going to open to the public again at the end of the consent agenda. You can ask the question at that time.
Council President, there are no other individuals with their hand raised regarding this agenda item.
Can I have a motion?
Councilman Aaron, motion.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Cedar, can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Councilman Rouse,
Yes.
Councilman Shaw,
Yes.
Councilman Uren,
Yes.
Council President Lombardi.
Yes, and the ordinance passes. We're now moving to the consent agenda. For efficiency, items have been consolidated into a consent agenda to be voted on together. The materials for these items have been distributed to the council in advance of the meeting. At this time, are there any items that the council would like removed from the consent agenda to be discussed or voted on separately? Seeing none, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion, Councilwoman Cahill.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second, Rouse.
Thank you. Ms. Cedar, can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Cahill,
Yes.
Councilman Rouse,
Yes.
Councilman Shaw,
Yes.
Councilman Curran,
Yes.
Council President Lombardi.
Yes, and the consent agenda items pass. Number 9 is a proclamation. It's the anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and I believe the mayor is going to read that proclamation for us.
Thank you, Council President. And whereas July 26 marks the 32nd anniversary of the enactment of the American with Disabilities Act, and whereas this legislation established a clear and comprehensive national mandate for elimination of discrimination against individuals with disabilities, and whereas the ADA has expanded opportunities for individuals with disabilities by reducing barriers, changing perceptions, and increasing participation in community life, and whereas the mayor and council are committed to keeping Piscataway inclusive and welcoming community for all, and whereas Piscataway reaffirms the commitment to the ADA and supports the pursuit of programs to ensure that in spirit and founding provisions are maintained and implemented and enforced. Now, therefore, I, Brian Waller, Mayor of Piscataway Township, County of Middlesex, in the state of New Jersey, recognize the anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act and encourage all township residents to continue and advance the principles of equity and inclusivity for all. And as an aside note, as the council members know, for the general public, we are very proud of the fact that all of our playgrounds are now compliant with federal standards. We're one of the few towns in the state that has, and also we're in the process of building more inclusive facilities for folks that who may be wheelchair bound, especially in our parks. I don't know if everybody's been down to Newmarket Pond within the last couple of years, that all the enhancements that have been done so nobody should miss out on the enjoyment nearby the lake and other amenities. So as well as our new community center fits the criteria for that. So we're very happy of all the work that we've done as officials to bring the spirit into play for the American Disabilities Act. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll now move to number 10, which are announcements and comments from officials. Mrs. Cahill, do you have any comments?
I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure to walk in the Lake Nelson 4th of July parade this year. A lot of kiddies were decked out. Folks were reminded about the meaning of 4th of July, and it was just a great event, and the weather was absolutely beautiful. I want to remind folks about the bike rodeo coming up this Saturday that'll be at the community center. There'll be experts there to check your bike out. I guess do some fine tuning, maybe even blow up some wheels. So it was a great event last year. Looking forward to seeing folks out there again this Saturday.
Thank you, Mrs. Cahill. Linwood Rouse,
No comment.
Kapil Shah,
No comments.
Frank Curran,
No comments, Council President.
Mayor.
Just as a reminder, National Night Out's August 2nd over at the community center. So everybody looking forward to it.
Tim Dacey,
Mayor, just got it. Thank you.
Township Attorney Raj Kumar.
No comments, thank you.
I guess the only add-on that I will add to the events that we have going on, we had one successful concert, a country band last Thursday, and the next upcoming concert over in Columbus Park will be July 21st, and that is Julianne and Dominique. And I must say, I'm a big advocate of theirs. They're extremely good, singing everything from Louis Armstrong to Andrea Bocelli. So anybody looking for a fun night of music, Thursday, July 21st at Columbus Park will be for sure a good one. We'll now move to 11, which is our agenda session for the August 9th, 2022 meeting. We have an ordinance second reading, repealing chapter 21 zoning, section 8A flood damage prevention and adoption of a new flood plan management regulations, and it will be open to the public. Do we have any questions or concerns from council members?
Council President, this is being managed by the DEP for all towns in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you for that.
And I welcome it, Council President. We're definitely needing to be paying attention to that.
Agreed. Next will be a resolution authorizing liquor license renewals for 2022 and 2023. License term for Piscataway 1 LLC. Questions or concerns? Next will be a resolution authorizing acceptance of the fiscal year 23 Municipal Alliance Youth Leadership Grant. That's pretty self-explanatory. Resolution authorizing refund of overpayment of fees at the police department. And I'm sure there will be some added to that. So now we will move to number 12 and open to the public for the final time. So if you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you will have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you have completed any comments or questions. We are now open to the public.
Council President, I'm asking the first individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves.
Hi, Brian Rack, 1247 Brookside Road. I was wondering, are you doing anything to address the report from the New Jersey State Comptroller that you're violating sick time payouts for town employees? I mean, they apparently contacted you before and you're violating a bunch of the existing laws. Thanks. That's it. Bye.
So Brian, we received a preliminary note from them in January. We responded in February. We had changed our poll.
Automatic voice message system.
That was
9087155.
We notified the controller, and the controller decided to ignore the letter that we sent them less than a month after they initially reached out to us. So unfortunately, the controller was not truthful in the report that they put out, because I understood there's other towns that did the same, and he did not report that that corrective actions were taken by many of the towns. So we are currently in full compliance.
And Ms. Council President, I want to chime in on that. It doesn't surprise me with this comptroller. It did shame on him on this one. You know, towns across the state, including Piscataway, had caps in place long before the state law went into effect. As a matter of fact, some of our bargaining units are capped at 7,500. We were way ahead of the curve on a lot of these items that they've been talking about for the last 15 years. We did this back in the late 90s, and you know, I think he was just groping for headlines. But that doesn't surprise me, because in his prior career, that's what he did at Fair Share Housing. So with that being said, I'm turning it back over to Council President.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Dacey.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves.
Good evening, Mayor Weiler and Council. My name is Dr. Jackie Jackson, and I live at 3400 Woodland Avenue in South Plainfield. And I am a person with a physical disability. So I thank you and the council for recognizing the 32nd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And I thank you, Mayor Weiler, for mentioning all the wonderful things you have done in Piscataway, and I look to come and visit your town one day and see all the wonderful things, and just be so thankful and on behalf of the disability community, because this is really near and dear to me. And I just thank you, because this is an important civil rights law, as we all know, and certainly it has been implemented, but it's not mandated, and it can certainly be a lot more to do on people in different towns. And I have asked mayors around surrounding towns to also recognize this Americans with Disabilities anniversary. And certainly you have social media, you have your Piscataway TV, and I ask you also to put it on your Facebook page, your web page, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you can, so that this proclamation can be recognized in the township of Piscataway. And I look forward to meeting you again one day. I met you before years ago, but I certainly will come back and assess other areas in Piscataway. If you should need my services, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Jackie Jackson.
You're welcome.
Council President, I would like to say to Dr. Jackson, please come to Piscataway to live here. We would love to have you as part of the
Yes.
fabric of our community.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves. Mr. Akins, you have to unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Melissa, is that star? What do they have to hit to unmute on the phone?
*6.
*6.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next person. I'll come back to him. You can unmute yourself, Mr. Madison. Go ahead, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Sid Madison, 176 Blackford Avenue, Piscataway. I'm here to impress upon you the importance of sending a resolution to Governor Murphy asking him to immediately enact a moratorium on new fossil fuel infrastructure in New Jersey. In 2018, the climate science from Special Report 15 set a goal of reducing or decreasing greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. Since then, greenhouse gas emissions have been increasing. In 2021, Governor Murphy set the reduction goal of 50% by 2030. There are currently 7 projects, if allowed to be completed, would increase emissions, which is 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Not only would the goal not be reachable, a crime in and of itself, but increase, that's that word again, increase energy costs for New Jersey. And the Board of Public Utilities has found that these projects are not, I repeat, not necessary. This is a case of profit that can be made, causing more environmental pollution and worsening our climate. Profit over people. That's what's happening. I stand ready to help you understand the background and to create a resolution. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Madison? No, but thank you for that concern.
Council President, I'm asking the next individual with their hand raised to unmute themselves. Mr. Akins, if you could please hit *6 to unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Mr. Akins, please hit *6 if you're looking to unmute yourself.
David Akins, Ambrose Valley Lane.
Okay, we have you.
Reference to item golf G. I'm going to do that later on, so you may continue.
What was the question on that item, David?
That was authorizing award of contract for the tree stump removal. I know this comes up quite often. Is there a time limit on this? Is this something that's permanent? How does that work? Because I constantly see that coming up.
This contract will be for 1 year.
Does that change every year, the amount? Is there a cap on it every year, or how does that work?
Mr. Akins, could you ask all of your questions and then we'll follow up with the answers? So just list all the questions that you have, okay?
Well, that was the only question I had. The only reason why I'm responding now, I couldn't respond prior to what I know the answer was. So I'm sorry, but that's just the way it came out. But right now, let's move on.
So did that answer your question? That was for a 1-year contract for that tree removal,
Yes.
okay?
Council President, I think he's asking, like, is it a cap? So every year, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Dacey, every year we would go out to bid. It's a yearly contract that we put out, and we follow the same procedure as we do for all bids that go out, correct?
Yes, it would depend a lot on how much paving and curb work is being done, how much work out of Joe Herrera's shop is being done. So the amount could vary year by year as the amount of work changes year by year.
Right, so we would list the work that we want to have done and then go out to bid, especially with the tree stumps.
Correct.
Well, if I may add into that, a lot of this also has to do storm damage related. Rich's Tree, it's under state contract, so we don't have to go out to bid. Prices have already been pre-bidded under state contract. But most of this, my guess, this money will be chewed up before the end of the year, and we'll be back at this again in November, because the amount of dead trees, we have a very infestation of the beetle bark disease throughout the town, where you had whole neighborhoods where you have almost every street tree is dead, that needed to be taken down and stump grinded. And then Mr. Hinterstein waits till he gets a grant, and then we'll replant new trees after that. But there's been whole swaths of developments where we've had to take down the trees because the trees were dead.
Thank you for that. Anyone else?
Council President, there are no other individuals with their hands raised.
Thank you, Mrs. Cedar. We'll now close the public portion. Item number 13 is an adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, thank you,
Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.